Welcome back. It is so good to have you. And of course, our listeners, welcome, welcome. It is such a nice time to have you. Richard, this is our episode number 10. We have made it
Yay!
to the double digits. That's a start, you know. We
Beautiful,
come together
beautiful.
here a few times, and welcome back our listeners that you have hung around, and apparently some of you are enjoying these little conversations. I hope you are taking genuine value away from these. Please do leave comments, by the way. If you have something to say, if you would like us to talk about something particular or something very specific, something personal, I would love to pick up on any comments, questions that you have, and just feature them in these presentations. We'll look forward to having you be part of this. And
Yeah, beautiful.
I'm here today, Oresztesz. I'm here today with Richard. It is so lovely to have you back again.
Thank you, Oresztesz. Look, it's lovely to be here, and I love hanging out with one of my all-time favorite hypnotists and great friends. And I'm always loving your channel every time I go on, and I love the energy that you're putting into less anxiety today. And I really want to echo what people are saying, whether it's for our podcast, for the Mindful Matters podcast, whether it's for anything else that comes there. Don't be shy, whether you've never asked a question before, or you feel stuck with something basic or something more sophisticated. It doesn't matter for us. We actually, like, our trade is helping people, and we like to we're pretty good at listening. And if there's something that interests you, fascinates you, is curious, or you feel stuck with, or you feel maybe that we talk about but that you experience a little bit differently, or it's different from what you read or you heard elsewhere, please let us know. You know, we love that, and we will bring that in here. And Oresztesz, 10 episodes, I'm loving it. You know, when my son does the park run, when you get to 10 or 25, you can get a t-shirt. I've got just in my mind now, I've got the 10 t-shirt, little badge.
Ah,
Well done. Thank you for it. Thank you for doing this. It's wonderful.
oh, this is awesome. Yeah, we get the first batch. The number 10 is just really like, oh yeah, let's go for more.
Yep. Yeah, agreed.
Awesome. And of course, you know, if you have any questions, we will have the ultimate answer. Like we will have the absolute truth. And you know, if you're just confused about anything, which sorry,
That's for episode
1000.
1000, Oresztesz. When we get to episode 1000, that'll be where we can do that. But
all right.
hilarious.
We will do our best to share, you know, to build upon whatever you have at our experience and our point of view, and hopefully get you to a better place. Because as Richard said, we do understand the power of listening. The power of listening. It's a strange concept if you just hear the words, but I hope that by the end of today's session, you will take away the understanding that it is a power. In fact, if you develop it the right way, it can be a superpower. What do you say, Richard?
Beautiful. Oh, agreed.
Superpower
Agreed.
of listening.
I agree. Look, recently I had the good fortune to spend some time with somebody who was an amazing listener, and I cannot tell you the joy it felt for somebody who actually took time to slow down and really appreciate what I was saying, and ask if there was anything else I had to add. You know, I remember. Years ago, we were doing a training with John Overdorf and Julie Silverthorne, two of my early mentors, and they said, you know, we're going to teach you one of the most amazing exercises now that will help you solve anything if you stay with it long enough. And we're like, okay. So the room went hushed. There were about 100 and something people in the room, really quiet. We're there in London. I mean, it wasn't that quiet outside, obviously, but inside the room, it was quite quiet. And they said, it's just tell me more. And we're like, what's that? And they're like, well, your next exercise, you're just going to ask a person to talk about something, and you're just going to say, tell me more. And keep on saying that and see what happens. And there we were, listening, paying attention to the other person, enjoying what they were saying, savoring every moment. Not even know they were savoring it, because we didn't even have to think about anything. We just said, oh, tell me a bit more about that. And by the end, the room was electric. Everyone felt so happy and so joyous. And it does not take a huge amount to start to move in that direction. But exactly like you say, the power of listening, Oresztesz, it is transformative, because it's what most people have a feeling of, had an experience in their life where they started to say something and the other person interrupted or started speaking about their experience, and they never got to share their experience or have the feeling of living that experience again. And once you can give that gift to people, it's a source of great joy for both of you.
The natural idea, as you say, for most people is to try and insert. Now, imagine this on a conceptual level. What is happening in a conversation? Whenever you say something, whenever you say anything, whenever you take the effort to open your mouth and want something to get out there, where can it possibly come from? It can only come from who you are, of what you believe in, or in what you're trying to achieve. So when you're saying something, you are putting out a little bit of you in those words. Like, for example, if I don't know, Richard right now were to say, yeah, but that's so silly, that would feel a lot like rejecting my person, because I am sharing my thoughts. I'm trying to put this into the most into the easiest to understand way in which I can currently my unconscious mind can currently come up with, to try and transmit this idea, because I've had years and years of realization. That was just something fantastic. When training with my mentor, it became a running joke that product after product, where I was either working as someone being coached or as a client, time after time, what I would take away is that I just need to shut up and pay attention. I just need to listen. I need to shut up. I need to listen. I need to slow down. I need to constantly. But every time it felt like a huge realization. And then we go into the next recording, I integrated that change. And then I again realized that there is a next level just to shutting up, listening, and paying attention to the other party. So listening and understanding. I do want to share this. I do want to share this with you. Now, if a comment, or if Richard right now were to reject this, it would feel like an invalidation of my experiences, of the places where these comments and this sharing comes from, where I have these ideas that I want to share with you. I put it out there. I am taking a risk, because it is a stance. Saying that something is important, something is valuable, it is a statement that says, okay, I stand behind this. There are some arguments to this. There are some reasons for which I say these words. If you reject it, which is the obvious way of not listening, that everybody can understand just how easy and how easily understand how uncomfortable that might feel, right? Now, the lesser form of rejection that we just mentioned, that Richard just exposed a moment ago, is you're just the kind of conversation where you're just politely waiting for the other person to shut up, to put in your contribution, to jump in with what you have to say. It doesn't necessarily invalidate the other person's opinion, but it might. It might. So you definitely want to pay attention to what the other person is sharing. And one of the most powerful techniques is the one that Richard just said, which is, tell me more. Instead of jumping in with your story, instead of overriding with your story, or just saying, yeah, I had this experience too, mine was like this. Instead of that, one of the very powerful techniques is this: just tell me more.
It sounds like this is a really important set of learnings for you, Oresztesz. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Fantastic. Now imagine that you were in my place, giving this little speech, explaining about things, and then instead of someone butting in with their story, you get appreciation. You get someone that says, oh, wow, it seems like there is a lot behind you. Seems like this comes from a place of many learnings. Tell me more about this. I just, if I if I wasn't
Right.
pointing out what Richard is doing, so that you can take the tool as well with yourself, I would just feel so much more open up. It's like, okay, yeah, what I am sharing, it's the part, the interesting part is that it's me in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is my experiences that came together in what I'm saying. It's a distillation of my experiences that I'm trying to express in a way. Now, Richard this time is accepting it, is saying, oh, this is valuable. Oh, this sounds like there is a lot more behind that. Give me more of this. I am enjoying this. And it just opens up conversations very powerfully. Perfectly demonstrated, Richard. Thank you.
Look! Oh, you're very welcome, Oresztesz. And look, I really enjoyed that. And as I was listening, it helped me. It sort of consolidated for me. I think there are 3 or 4 things that happen. Typically, this is sort of that are probably fairly sort of ubiquitous across quite a few cultures, certainly in the Western world, where people. Where when there's a space when somebody's talking, okay, that people feel the need to fill it, okay, rather than waiting or rather than giving some appreciation back. And typically what happens is, so somebody will be saying something and the other person will want to step in and either try to fix some aspect of what they're saying, maybe give some advice, fill the space with a personal anecdote, whether it's tangentially related or not related at all, just to fill the space, or even just to fill their own anxiety. Now, I can see Oresztesz, I get a sense, Oresztesz, that you're cringing a little bit over there on the other side of the world as I'm saying this, because well, I mean, look, it's quite natural that we've all had that experience in our life of having that done to us, and without awareness, doing it to other people as well. It's very, very typical of parents to do that for children, but in any kind of relationships, honestly. And it was brought back to me a few years ago. I remember when I was working for a company, I was doing some consulting for them, and somebody gave me a very nice bottle of wine. And even though I didn't particularly drink that much, it was really nice. And as they were giving it to me, somebody came over and I was saying thank you. And one of the other people in the office saw there was a gift being given. They came over, and as I was giving thanks back, they said, "Oh, I like wine as well. Now, this is the wine that I like to drink, and I only drink it from this vineyard." And I think that's really good. And the energy that was there completely dissolved. And I always remembered it, that I want to be the person that gives the gift of kindness and attention to other people, because you know what? A lot of people grow up and have challenges in their life and weren't listened to, and were maybe spoken down to, or had very authoritarian, strict sort of upbringings at school. So when you're the kind of person who can actually be there for a person and listen, the great thing is you don't need to have witty or funny anecdotes. They're going to love you and appreciate you because you're taking the time to let them articulate and be themselves.
It's really powerful when someone gets to be themselves like this. Nice.
And just the listeners, the canny, observant listeners will see a big smile on my face there as I feel listened to and appreciated. And one of the core things with this is be okay with a little bit of space. We don't have to fill every space with verbiage. The fact that somebody pauses is quite natural to show that they're actually appreciating and listening to what the other person's doing. And, you know, and well, I feel a sense of joy. My joy quotient has just risen up. So thank you, Oresztesz.
You're very welcome. And to build on this, what you're saying, I completely agree with that. That's it is very relevant to how people have learned to feel comfortable sharing themselves.
Mhm.
If someone has grown up or has had a lot of practice in a way, not dedicated practice like I'm going to practice this, but these are the kind of experiences that naturally surrounded them throughout the years, then they might have learned that sharing their opinion, sharing themselves, it is very likely or sometimes guaranteed in some circumstances to be rejected, to be criticized, to be judged. So just the fact that you are actually paying attention to the other person, that you're actually appreciating where their comment, their anecdote, their values come from, it can be so empowering and very, very, very interesting to the person. The other interesting part of this whole setup is that sometimes people have a little bit of a fear of having a conversation like this. Sometimes you just feel the pressure of, well, I don't know what to say now. This sounds a little bit funny, but the good thing is that when you understand this, when you truly begin to develop the power of listening, you will never lack something to say. Because you might as well just carry a conversation without saying anything, without sharing anything, without knowing anything, without adding anything. Let's say, even in the most, I don't know, even in a situation where you would be expected to say smart things or be informed of the news or share some stories or share your point of view, you can have a very empowering conversation where people will think that you're very smart, when all you do is just ask the other person about their opinion. When you ask the other person, now, watch out. I'm not saying that you do an FBI type interview. Okay, so what do you think of this? What has happened here? Why? What's going on here? No. You're just having a conversation where you notice what are the things that are important for the other person. When you pull out the things that sound like they have some kind of a meaning, where you really show your ability to listen. Now, how do we do this? How would you, what would you say, Richard, are the easiest ways in which you can spot when somebody is sharing some kind of a story with you, or even just say something about news? Yeah, have you heard about this and this and this? Mm-hmm. How would you know if you were to go with the listening skills? Yep. What would be the things that you would guide your attention towards? What would be the things you would appreciate? Because you were very, very skillful in noticing the things that I was sharing in the examples. What would your recommendation be to tell our listeners how to pay attention? What would be the things that stand out in what the other person is sharing that they can then focus on and say, tell me more about this, tell me more about that?
Beautiful. I love it. Well, look, if you think about it in the most basic level, it's about paying attention to the other person. So we can give you a few general pointers here, but it's not like a cast iron formula that you must do it like this. It's more about the quality of the attention that you pay to the other person. And the easiest way that I could probably do this, if I give a quick like 10-second metaphor from the research, first of all, that if there are two people in a room and one of them puts their mobile phone on the table between the two of them, even if they're not looking at it, the research shows that, that the other person feels less listened to, less cared for, less appreciated. Okay, so it's been done in many different studies in different ways. Okay, that's without somebody checking, just the presence of it there. So just be sensitive with the other person who you're with. They just, if they're distracted, looking around, if they're out of breath, if it seems as though they've had a challenging day, then you can ask, so how are you doing? And sit back and listen. So I think the first thing is to pay attention and just try and have a little sensitivity to the mood of the current mood of the other person. And you don't need to say anything about it. If you want to, we have talked about the inferences before. You can just say, it seems like you've had it seems like you might have had a busy day at work. Did I catch that right? And ask them.
That one is a great one. So you're saying that you can grab a story,
yep,
and take a stab. So you listen to the story,
yep,
and you can take a stab at trying to extract the meaning of that story. If they tell you about, oh, you know what, this guy did that, and then that happened at the office, and then all of these things happened, and it was, oh my goodness, it was total chaos.
Yep.
Then you want to do the following thing. You will want to guess how that person felt in that full story. This is the simplest of formulas.
Yep.
Try to guess what that story meant emotionally for that person. And then you can give it a go, just something along the lines of, well, it sounds like you really had a hectic day at the office. Or it sounds like that must have been exhausting to go through all of that. Right? So you're trying to guess, and you can be okay with just trying to guess. It doesn't have to be perfect, as long as you maintain a little bit of openness to being wrong. You're not affirming, oh my God, you had an awful day at the office, right? Unless you are absolutely certain that that was the actual experience that they had, right? So when you're trying to guess the emotional experience, try to think, if you're having any trouble with that, try to imagine how you might feel if you had gone through all of those experiences. How might that have felt if you were in the office when the guy did this and then that, and then all of this fell on top of all of them? And then try to guess. Now, another interesting little detail there is, you never want to change the emotional experience. Like, if you want your friend to feel better, do not try to diminish their emotional level, and do not try to exaggerate. So this might be a little bit of a tricky exercise. That's why it's a skill that you want to continue to develop throughout your life. But try to guess the name of the emotion from the story and the emotional intensity of that story. Try to figure out, like, how was their day. If you were say, well, I just found out that my accountant has been stealing from me, and they stole. Turns out that by the time I caught them, it was up to over 200,000, let's say, US dollars. And I just realized that that's been happening in front of me all this time. If you're saying that, oh, that might have upset you a little bit, that might have been a little bit uncomfortable to realize that, you are hitting the right type of emotion, which is unfairness and the feeling of anger, possibly. But you probably want to go much higher than a little bit upset. You might want to say really angry or furious even, right? Because you want to hit the emotional intensity. You want to show the other person that you do understand what they are going through, right?
Yeah, and I think, as you say, it's really nice because I think that's a great there's a great opportunity there to show this subtlety here. So in the case when you're doing that, you can you've got a couple of ways you can go on either side of the spectrum. Now, one is like, oh, that's terrible. That must have been terrible. Oh, you must be feeling awful about this experience. Oh, how terrible. So now what you're doing is by bringing your own anger and frustration to it, we're escalating the snowball of that. Now, the gentle way to do it, the other way to do it, which, like you exactly as you suggest, Orestes, is to focus on, oh my God, that totally sucks, and then pause. That really sucks. Pause. So how are you doing? How are you holding up? All right. So now what I've done is I've matched the intensity of the experience. Man, that sucks. That is the worst. I mean, you could even say, look, man, that is total betrayal. Pause. So how are you holding up? So now, after the pause, I'm shifting into compassion. Now, what I'm doing is I'm using the openness you talked about earlier, as is that openness and lightness, in the way that I'm asking that, having acknowledged. So we've acknowledged, we've had a little bit of space, and now we can help. Now, this is where it becomes really powerful, because once somebody feels help, feels listened to, and that emotional sting has been diffused a little bit, well, now they can process. And that's why this is so powerful, because finally people can get to feel heard, get to feel listened to, without the natural human tendency to rush in and advise. Well, you want to call this lawyer, and you want to do this, and you want to get a private investigator out straight away, and you want to do this, and you want to get insurance. We want to stay away from all of that. It's like, man, that sucks. So
Absolutely.
how are you holding up?
Very, very powerful. And immediately, and oh, by the way, I'm seeing into the future, and I saw some of you just writing down some comments saying that there are some connections to the time when we were talking about naming emotions. Yes, you are absolutely correct. Thank you for your comment. It has everything to do with that. It is recognizing the emotions. That is what you're shooting for, because you are showing that you are paying attention to the other person, and you understand that certain emotional experiences have been created by the story that they are sharing with you. And as we are getting closer to the end of our session today, I want to share with you one more strategy that you can use, because this one, when you're noticing in the story and then you're summarizing, is a very powerful tool for people who share, who are easy to talk, who will say the entire story, who are willing and naturally open up and tell you about something. That with them, you can try to summarize the story and feed it back to them, so that they know that you are actually listening, and you're not rejecting their story, you're not rejecting their emotions. Now, just a tiny little bit of extra here that I just remembered. You don't have to agree with what they are experiencing. Acknowledging their person doesn't mean that you have to agree. Understanding that going through an experience and having, I don't know, having been abused or having been hurt in some way, or betrayed in some way, like the accountant stealing money, you are not saying that you're okay with them being devastated or powerless. You're acknowledging that it feels like betrayal. They are feeling angry. You can absolutely acknowledge that, and then begin to help them out from there. Then you can eventually, if they ask for advice, then you can give that. You don't have to say, oh, you should do this, oh, you should do that, as Richard just mentioned. So first of all, just acknowledging, this is very powerful. Now, there is the other thing, is the version that we started with. If somebody is not very used to long descriptions of stories, they just talk to you in short sentences, like, I don't know, how are you? I'm good. My kids are going away for the holidays. But you can hear in their tone that it is not necessarily everything. You can try to guess the emotion. Oh, it sounds like you're, I don't know. It does sound like you're a little bit sad, or at least it sounds like you're a little conflicted about this. You might enjoy some of it, but you might have some concerns, right? You can say something like that, or you can just say, well, "Your kids are going away. Tell me more."
Mhm.
Or another version of this that you can use is the I don't remember what it's what the technique. It has its specific name. It is basically you are just repeating the last word or the last impactful word that you heard. For example, oh, my kids are going away. Away? Kids are going away. You can, if it's so short, you can repeat the whole thing, and then that is basically an invitation for the other person. It's another version of saying, "Tell me more," and then that person that will sum up the entire story in just a few words will start to share a little bit more with you. How powerful is? Have you tried that technique, Richard?
I think that is beautiful, Oresztesz, and thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, absolutely, and I think it's probably one of the, you know, after a little while, what happens is it's quite funny. Like with a lot of these things, one looks for sort of sophistication, but really what you want is one or two simple tools. Because just tell me more.
Simple tools.
Honestly, people will listen to that.
Simple tools.
Simple. People will tell you about it all day long. Yeah, absolutely. It's these simple tools that work, that are so effortless. You don't even have to try to remember them.
Effortless.
Exactly, because they're so easy. I mean, who couldn't remember to say, tell me more, or to repeat back one word that the other person says that seems to have some kind of emphasis?
Emphasis.
That's right. Whenever somebody's talking, there'll be certain words, there'll be certain words where they come alive.
Alive.
And that's right. They'll just like come to, it's like a feeling inside of great joy of being listened to and being heard. And I want to acknowledge Oresztesz, who is a master of a master of this, because you hopefully this will be so easy. It's all predicated on paying a little bit of attention to the other person. And here's the thing: when you don't have to think about what to say, when you don't have to try and impress anyone, when you don't have to remember anything, you just pay attention to them and either use the direct pattern of like, tell me more, or the indirect form of where you will just find whatever they are and whatever they're saying, go alive, and just repeat it back with the questioning tonality. They will do that. That's just what's been on their mind, and the very fact that they're emphasizing it in their conversation means that it has some importance to them, and it's an invitation again to listen. And it's such a beautiful thing because it is really straightforward to direct your attention this way. The only challenge really in doing it is just a little, like with any new skill, a little bit of just trying to remember to do it at the beginning, and sometimes feeling a little bit awkward with any new skill, like with any new skill. And then secondly, the ingrained habit to fill up space by saying stuff. But in terms of the actual mechanism of doing this, it's very, very straightforward. And would that be your experience, Oresztesz? And how would you say that this one skill alone has impacted you?
I love this one. This has bailed me out in many situations because you might not believe that. I don't know. I hope you don't. I hope it's at least a little hard to believe that I have grown up an extremely introverted person. Extremely. I mean, I would be just completely buried in my books and spend even when I was walking to the school, I developed a skill of reading as I was walking, and I would be able to perceive some of the space around me. But yeah, this has bailed me out many times, even when I'm a little bit nervous in striking up a new conversation. just using this skill. And I mean, I would like to invite you. The holidays are coming up. If you're listening to this when it was recorded, try this in some of your reunions. Just use these tools. Only, even if you only practice the one mixing up, tell me more, and repeating the last impactful word. Try that. Do only that in a conversation, or do that even on a whole night, and notice the effects that you start having on people. Just really, I really want to invite you to engage with this little exercise. Try that. Talk to people like that. Listen to them like this, and see how things turn out. Notice how people react to just being appreciated and you wanting to know more about their stories. And then do leave us a comment. Do come back and let us know how that worked out. I'd love to hear about that.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I love that. Thank you so much, Oresztesz. I do think that's a beautiful thing as we're into the festive season now, depending on where you are, when you listen to this. It's a great gift. I think this is one of the most powerful gifts that we can all give to somebody, which is to just make a little bit of a mindful effort to listen a little bit more and invite them to continue to the point where they feel heard.
Absolutely. And I think with that, we are ready to close this session for this week. Thank you for listening, especially thank you for sticking around until the end. And make sure that you check out Richard on his social media. Make sure that you check the show notes where you will find all the information and where you can find us. Check out also Less Anxiety Today, the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, the website. And make sure that you're subscribed so that you keep getting these little chats. And I hope we entertained you on the way to work, or just listening in as you're preparing something or getting ready or exercising. I hope you have the opportunity to just listen and enjoy, maybe gain some new insights. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and hope to see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.